Are you a new player to the Commander format? Or maybe you're a veteran player looking to give advice to somebody who's just getting into the Commander format. Stick around because this could be the video for you. What's up, Commander players? My name's Matt and you're watching Top Commander. So, with Commander quickly becoming the most popular format for Magic the Gathering, obviously we have a huge influx of new players to the format. So in this video I want to just go over 5 general pieces of advice for new players, or that you yourself can give to new players coming into the format to make things somewhat easier for the transition. But before I get into that, if you wish to support this channel, be sure to like, share, and subscribe. And if you want to support this channel directly, be sure to visit patreon.com/topcommander. But with that out of the way, let's go ahead and go down the list. So, for new players getting into the Commander format, clearly, probably the most obvious first piece of advice is you're going to need a deck. Having a deck of cards to be able to play a format. Who would have thunk it, right? But now, a lot of people are probably rolling their eyes like, yeah, that's probably the easy part, whatever. Well, you would think so, but a lot of people coming into this format don't know about the precons. So every year we have a set of pre-constructed Commander decks that are released every year. We get a new set. Usually it's between 4 or 5 brand new decks every year. A lot of these precons have a lot of the staples that you're going to need. These are a great place to start. They're ready to play right out of the box, and it's something that can help you learn. It's very simplified. For the most part, the precons are very simple. That's the really good part about it, especially for new players. If you've never played Magic the Gathering before and you're starting off learning Commander, honestly, the precons are the best way to go about it because they're built in a way that they're not super complicated. Because if you don't want to drop the money on the precon, here's the problem that you might run into. You go to a game store and you're like, hey, I want to learn how to play. Does anybody have a deck I could borrow? And somebody could break out some crazy storm deck that if you don't play it properly, you're not going to win. And that's the problem, because something on the level of like a storm deck or something that has this intricate combo, if you don't know how it works, you're not going to do it properly, and it's going to be very confusing for you at first. So it's easier to just start with something simple. The basics, precons. They're there for a reason. So don't be afraid to start off with a precon. Get a pack of sleeves, sleeve it up, shuffle, start playing. It's a great way to get started. Plus, if you really like the precon that you're playing with, you can always upgrade it and make it your own. Or if you want to just start collecting other precons, rip them all apart, take the pieces and build a brand new deck out of it, go for it. That's the glorious thing about the precons, because you have the ability to do all of those things with them. So I can never stress that even veteran Commander players still to this day will go out and buy the precons because they also bring new cards into the format, which is the cool part. We get new commanders, there might be some new staples. The precons are there for everybody. New players, older players, everybody gets the precons just about. It is Commander Christmas for a reason, if you've ever heard that phrase before. But moving on to the next one. Now, this is where I start getting into more actual advice, because a lot of people probably thought that first one was kind of duh, you know. So the next one, do some research. Now, obviously, if you're watching this video, you're on the right track. I'm just going to go ahead and say it right now. If you're new to the format and you're watching this video right now, this is a good way to start off, just getting some little piece of advice, and that's part of doing your research. Check out the different YouTube channels. Tolarian Community College, if you haven't heard of them, he's probably the most popular YouTube channel for Magic the Gathering in general because he covers a wide variety of topics for Magic. Now, he does have some videos specifically for Commander, but you have to sift through. He's been doing this for quite a few years. Another YouTube channel to check out as well, the Command Zone. They have been doing this for 6+ years, I believe. That'd be Jimmy and Josh over there. They've been doing this for a long time. That's all the topics of their videos are Commander related. They do episodes on politics, deck techs, set reviews, and they have probably the most popular gameplay series known as Game Nights, so always check those out too. But obviously when you're checking out YouTube channels, you can only learn so much from people talking into a camera at you while you're watching your phone screen or your laptop or whatever, right? So go down to your local game store or just find people that play and get with a play group. Talk with people. Just be like, hey, I'm learning the game. You know, you can discuss game theory, deck techs, deck building, all kinds of different strategies. Just discuss with them. And they will help you out. That is the glorious thing about your local game store. You're obviously there wanting to learn something. There are people there that will more than likely help teach you something, which is really the cool dynamic with that. So check out your local game store, get with the Commander players over there, talk with them, learn a few things from them. That's always an easy way to do some research. Get in the minds of the people around you especially. Next up, number 3. Now this goes to you already have a deck. Maybe you bought a pre-con. Maybe you're just looking at building a deck. The number one thing that I can never stress enough, do not skip on the mana base. The mana base being your lands. Now, I'm not saying you have to go out and spend hundreds or thousands of dollars on a mana base. You don't have to do that. There are cheaper budget ways to get a mana base that's efficient. You don't have to run a whole bunch of the tap lands. I'm not saying that tap lands are bad, but you don't want to run too many of them. Honestly, you probably don't want to run more than 4 in the entire deck, in all honesty. That's just a rough estimate, so bear with me on that one. But you don't want too many of them that are coming into play tapped, and then you're sitting around waiting to have the mana available while everybody's doing stuff. When it comes to building a deck or upgrading a deck, the cards that you're playing are cool. That's the part that everybody's excited about. But the lands, your mana base, is how you're going to get there. So you cannot skip on it. You need to upgrade that mana base. If you have the money to go get all the fetches and duels and shocks, go for it, by all means. But if you're trying to do it on budget, there are budget ways of doing it. But you got to make sure that your mana base works for you. Now, with that being said, the next piece of advice that I'm going to give is what you will generally find from other YouTubers. There's a quote-unquote deck building template. And this is honestly, especially if you're a new player, this is a really good way to look at when you're building your deck. Now, not only do you not want to skip your mana base, but your average commander deck, you're going to be looking at about 10 ramp spells. These are spells that give you access to more mana, so you can play your big things quicker. Obviously, you don't want to play an 8 mana spell on turn 8. You want to play that sucker on turn 4, turn 6. Or as fast as you possibly can. Depending on what kind of ramp you're using, of course. Now, with that being said, you also want to have 10 card draw spells. These are just 10 different ways to help you draw through the deck. I'm not counting cantrips. Cantrips are cards that typically they cost 1 mana, you spend it, and then you get like 1 card. I'm not counting those. I'm talking 10 good card draw spells. Cantrips, I consider those half a card draw spell. So for every 2 cantrips in the deck, you got a card draw spell. Let's go with that. Because you want ways to get card advantage. You want to be able to dig through the deck. Yes. But you need ways to make sure that you're not going to end up with an empty hand. You need to make sure that you have access to cards in your hand at all time. So, 10 card draw spells. 5 to 10 removal spells. Now, this obviously varies depending on the colors that you're in, what kind of deck it is, maybe. Maybe you're running a deck that doesn't need a lot of removal spells. But in general, you want to have anywhere from 5 to 10 removal spells. This is probably a pretty solid number to get people started with. Now, on that next topic, board wipes. For God's sake, use board wipes. I feel like here lately I haven't seen a whole lot of board wipes flying around. So your average commander deck, you probably want to have about 3 to 5 board wipes, give or take. I'm not saying this is a hard number. I'm not saying you have to run any at all, but you're in a 4-player game. Multiplayer environment. Board wipes are your friend. Now, if you have the money for a Cyclonic Rift, that's a one-sided board wipe. Absolutely run it. Vandal Blast, one-sided board wipe in red that destroys all of your opponent's artifacts. Run it. Now, obviously, some of these board wipes can get pricey. There are budget alternatives. You don't have to run the Cyclonic Rift, you don't have to run the Vandal Blast, you don't have to run the Toxic Deluge. But, are they good cards? Absolutely. But, regardless, you need to run board wipes. Because, in a 4-player game, you can't just keep playing, I'm going to play this, get rid of this. Okay, but what about your other 2 opponents? You're going to go 1 for 1 with one of your opponents, but the other 2 technically are up on card advantage every time you do that because they didn't lose anything. So, you got to remember, run plenty of removal. Board wipes are going to be your best friend. And, for the last piece of advice I have for new players, when starting out, you're going to lose a lot. It is very likely. You are new to the game, you're playing with veteran players who are trying to teach you. You're probably going to lose quite a few games. It will probably be a while before you win a game until you learn this game. But with that being said, Commander is a 4-player game. It's very casual. It's meant to be a casual environment. You can always become more competitive as you learn the game, of course. But remember the baseline, it's a game. Have fun. Don't let losing a lot dissuade you from this game. Because you're going to lose a lot when you're starting out because you have to learn how to play the game. Learn from your losses, learn from mistakes, get better, and just have fun. It is a game. And in a 4-player game, you cannot expect that you're going to win every time you sit at the table. It will not happen. You should probably expect to win maybe 25% of your games because of the fact that there's 4 players. Starting off, you should expect not to win for quite a while because of the fact that there's 3 other players that are potentially way more skilled and experienced than you are. So you're not going to win for a little while, but don't let that dissuade you. It's a game. Have fun. But, for right now, that's all I have. I'll probably actually do a follow-up video on this sometime later. Let me know down in the comments below if you think that I should. Maybe there's some other piece of advice for new players. Always be sure to comment down below and let me know what you guys think about this video. If there's anything that I missed, maybe I do need a follow-up video. Who knows? But, until then, I'll see you guys next video.